I am Lulu, and we finished up the returning home for an hour track, and there's just a few other things that I have jotted down in this portion of the big book that Chalice is calling it a bonus track, so we'll call it a bonus track. One thing I have written here is I cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. And I love that. I cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. So if my journey is, I had at this point of the steps, I haven't even done half of them yet. I just have to keep appreciating this journey. I have to keep appreciating this journey and know that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Another thing, I have this quote written here by Marianne Williamson that I love. Relationships are the laboratory of the Holy Spirit. And I love that because, you know, being in relationships with people is the laboratory of the Holy Spirit. I have to say that I'm just going to say this because this has been on my mind the past couple of weeks. When I consider how happy, joyous, and free I am, and that level of happy, joyous, and free that I feel, I am not in a relationship. My kids are grown. I'm retired, so I don't have any coworkers to deal with. I don't have any little kids to deal with. I don't have a job to deal with. I am financially secure. I don't have to worry about a cent. And I don't have a boyfriend or a husband. No wonder why. But I consider how I am not challenged in those ways, the way that other people are. But remember that relationships are the laboratory of the Holy Spirit. So I have less opportunity to be in that laboratory. So I believe that the more life situations you have, that's your laboratory for the Holy Spirit. And I think that even though it leaves me feeling unchallenged, which can feel peaceful, I was almost thinking how, you know, where's my laboratory? Where's my laboratory? Like, I don't really have it. I don't really have any challenges in life. And I mean, I'm grateful for that. I don't want to go looking for it. But, you know, if you're happy, joyous, and free comes a little trickier. If your restlessness, irritability, and discontentment creeps up, just remember, it might be because you are in the throes of working, co-workers, debt, kids, husbands, wives, aging parents, all that stuff, you know, that's the laboratory of the Holy Spirit. So just embrace those things as, instead of there's another thing. When I compare myself to others, I either find myself lacking, which makes me feel cheated, or I find myself superior, which leaves me feeling arrogant. Okay, so you don't compare like, oh, I wish I was as easygoing and as recovered or as happy, joyous, and free as Lulu. Well, Lulu doesn't have half the challenges that you're dealing with in life. Don't forget that. Because when you have all of this on your plate and you're doing well, God bless you. You know, you're in the laboratory. And I go in and out of the laboratory. So just remember, just appreciate the lab, you know, if that makes any sense. There's a book called The Yamas and the Niyamas right here. It's really a terrific, terrific book exploring yoga's ethical practice. And there's a quote in here that I love. Actually, that one that I just read you that says, we compare ourselves to others, we find ourselves lacking, which feels cheated, or superior, which leaves me arrogant. That's from that book too. And one other thing I have from this book that I loved was about worrying. And I'm just going to read it to you really quickly. Worry this was about violence. And they were saying that worrying about somebody is being violent. Worry is another way violence gets masked as helping, as caring, sorry. Worry is a lack of faith in the other and cannot exist simultaneously with love. Either we have faith in the other person to do their best, or we don't. Worry says, I don't trust you to do your life right. Worry comes from a place of arrogance that I know better what should be happening in your life. Worry says, I don't trust your journey or your answers or your timing. Worry is fear that hasn't grown up yet. It's a misuse of our imagination. We both devalue and insult others when we worry about them. I'd like to discern the difference between help and support. For me, help carries the connotation that I am more skilled at life's decisions and challenges than the other person is. Help is a one-up on the other person, whereas support meets the other person on equal playing ground with equal ability and is able to sit with more awe and respect than answers. The Chrysler Center for Battered Women in Minneapolis, Minnesota has a beautiful motto that embodies the concept of I'm sorry, you know, I'm looking at a copy that I made instead of the book because I don't know what page it's on and the photocopy didn't come out well. What worry and support over help. The motto states, every woman has her own answer, every woman has her own timing, and every woman has her own path. So like when you go to this Center for Battered Women, they don't give you your answers and tell you your timing on when you should be feeling this or whatever. And they don't give you a path. Every woman has their own. They're just there to support you. So it really, when I read that, it really changed the way that I really looked at help and support and worrying. Oh, and I just thought, what a waste of time. I've spent most of my life worrying about people. And basically, when I'm worrying about people, I'm saying, I have to worry about you because you're too stupid to do it right. I'm going to have to worry. You know, when you get in the car and drive away, I need to worry that you're going to get wrapped around a telephone pole. Like, what does that say about me and my, oh, but I don't think about it when I get in the car. Oh, because I drive better than you. Or, you know, it's like that one-upping thing, you know, it's just like, so I share that. I have that, and I share that with sponsees, especially people that chronically worry, and the fixers, the people that are fixing, the people that are worrying, the people that are people pleasing. It's just a good reminder. Just put things in perspective for me when I read it. So I like to share it with people. Do you have anything on that, Chalice?
Oh, I sure do. I'm Chalice, a compulsive eater, compulsive worrier, compulsive fixer, compulsive helper. And I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity and the laboratory that I've had to experience this exact thing. This year has been full of opportunities for me to learn how to support and to not help. You know, I have always looked around and seen where it's like, oh, I can help them. I can do this. I can do that. If I do this, then they can, you know, just always kind of anticipating people's needs and wearing myself out that way. But the opportunity came as my children were going to be returning to school for the fall semester or fall I guess 2020, fall 2020. And because children weren't going to be returning to school, the school districts were kind of trying to figure out what they were going to be doing. And my husband and I decided to put our children, two of our children, our youngest two, one's 13 and the other's 11, in an online charter school. And we had never done this before. We didn't have any idea what to expect. And the first 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, I cried every single day because I thought I had to sit with my daughter and help her with her schoolwork. Every single day I was crying, and I think all of my children and I were all crying because we were just like, I'm like, I don't want to homeschool my children. That's why I put them in an online charter school. But, I believed that I needed to help and be right there. And through doing several 10 steps, working with my sponsor and having her read and remind me about this idea of support versus help. I didn't even know what support looked like. I didn't know what that looked like. What does that even mean? I had never experienced the difference between what help was and what support was. And for me, it was like help was doing it for them or being right there. And it wasn't working. It was making a nightmarish experience. And so just really pondering the idea and reaching up to my higher power. God, show me, what does it even look like to support? I don't even know what this looks like. And little by little, God kind of showed me that I just needed to step back and let go. Like literally, I think my husband had to come to Jesus with me too. He's like, just let them do it. If they fail, then she can repeat the 5th grade. It's going to be okay, And it was interesting to just kind of step back and let go and see that actually they didn't need my help. They knew they'd been to school. They've been to school. They know what they're doing better than I do. Like, they know how to do it. They know how to do the work. They know how to read. Really, all they need to know is how to read. And they did that. They know how to do that. So they knew how the school run. We had taken those first 3 weeks to kind of get to know how things technically worked, all the technical things. They had everything they needed. They didn't need me to be right there helping them. They needed me to be there supporting. And actually, they needed me to go away. Like the best thing that I did was just step out and just totally hands off and let them, it was like letting go of the back of the seat of the bicycle and just letting them just fly. And it, for me, just the peace and the release of letting go of helping and turning into a cheerleader rather than a fixer, maker, helper, whatever, doer. Watching them absolutely blossom in their schoolwork and watching them absolutely do incredible things, get high marks on their classes. And actually one of them almost failed a class, but didn't. And that was a beautiful experience as well, letting go of that, knowing that, not worrying about that, like using the experience to learn not to worry and to let her experience whatever she's going to experience was such a peaceful experience for me. And I know it was a heck of a lot more peaceful experience for her because she didn't have her mom breathing down her neck to get her class done. It was, how can I support you? Can I sit with you? Why don't I work on my thing while you're working on that? I love you, sweetheart. I know you can do this. It was such a totally different experience than it could have been if I had been worrying or if I had been helping versus supporting. So grateful for the laboratory. I'm learning this in all sorts of relationships, in my family relationships, in my sponsorship relationships. I'm in the laboratory right now. And it's amazing how when I step back and just let God do his thing, let other people do their things, I really have no business. I really have nothing that I need to be worrying about, really nothing that I need to be doing. what a nice thing. So that's what I've got on that. Thank you so much, Lulu.
Excellent. Yeah, I have adult children, so I'm in a different space than you. Uh, oh, just to have removed myself. I remember somebody said to me once, um, when I don't know, so there was something I was trying to tell my daughter, like she should be doing, like you should, well, how much was the rent there? Why don't you just, that's too much, or what, why don't you go look for something more in your, just getting in her stuff, right? Like basically helping her look for a place when no, she didn't even ask me to, right? She didn't say, what do you think of this? But I remember my sponsor said once, like, listen for the question mark. When your adult children are talking to you, listen for the question mark. Was there a question mark? And when I started paying attention to that, geez, there's almost never a question. They're just sharing their lives with me. And I'm thinking every time that I'm giving them unsolicited advice, I am helping them, helping somebody that isn't even asking for help. Yeah, so I don't have to do that anymore. And when I fired myself from running their lives, it's just dramatically changed those relationships. My daughter, she doesn't live near me. She's going to school out in the middle of the country, and she keeps in touch. I don't have to say, this is how much she keeps in touch. And if she kept in touch this much, it would mean that she really loved me. This is what she should be doing. Oh, is she going to wish me happy birthday today? Is there going to be a card in the mail? Because if there is, this is what it means. And I just it's like, whatever, I don't have to worry about who they're going to become, when the timing. That was another thing in that reading. It was about anybody's timing. I could say, well, when I was your age, I was already in a career and I was making good money. And it's like, who asked? Who asked? Who asked you, Lulu? So I'm very grateful to, and that was only post step work, that I was able to look at those relationships. And a lot of times what you discover is the minute that you change in relationships, the relationship changes. Like, you don't need that person to do it any different. It's like, I can change this whole relationship, because a lot of times what's bugging me about this relationship is basically their response to me. So why do they need to respond to me if I'm not challenging them? There's no response there necessary. So once I stopped doing my end of it, there's no reactions anymore, because there's nothing to react to, and you just have a beautiful relationship with someone. Who knew? Hey, took me 60 years to figure it out, but here I am. Gonna live my 60s in style with a whole new spiritual tool belt, little toolbox that I have now that has helped me change the way I look at things. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It's just amazing how that works. Thanks.